I'm Kenethia, the Program Outreach Coordinator for the Western New York Women's Foundation, and I will go through the 13 rights and benefits New York State wants women workers to know about. In terms of minimum wage, all New York State workers are entitled to receive at least an hourly minimum wage rate. For areas outside of New York City, Long Island, and Westchester, currently, the minimum wage rate is $14.20 an hour. For home care aides, that minimum wage rate is $16.20 per hour. For fast food workers across the state, the minimum wage rate is $15 an hour. And this minimum wage is in effect as of December 31st, 2022. For minimum wage for tipped workers, New York State law allows employers in most industries to satisfy the minimum wage by combining a wage paid by the employer with tips the employee receives from customers. Only hospitality industry employers are allowed to take tip credits from minimum wage. Tips only jobs in New York State are prohibited. In the area within New York City, Long Island, and Westchester County, service employees receive a $12.50 wage and $2.50 tip credit. For food service workers in the metropolitan area, they also receive $10 in wages and $5 in tip credits. Now, looking at the remainder of the state, including Western New York, service employees receive $11.85 wage and $2.35 tip credit. For food service workers, they will receive $9.45 in wages and $4.75 in tip credit. In terms of overtime, most workers must receive overtime pay after working 40 hours in a work week. Overtime pay is 1.5 times your regular pay. For tipped workers, employers must pay overtime hours worked at 1.5 the minimum wage rate minus the applicable tip credit. Agricultural workers currently earn overtime after working 60 hours in a work week and for any hours worked on their designated day of rest. In terms of worker misclassification, to determine whether a worker should be classified as an employee or an independent contractor, the nature of the employer-employee relationship must be considered. Independent contractors are in business for themselves and offer their services to the public. An independent contractor performs their work free from 3 things: supervision, direction, and control. On the other hand, an employer-employee relationship exists if the employer satisfies 4 things. 1, chooses when, where, and how the worker performs services. Secondly, provides facilities, equipment, tools, and supplies. Thirdly, directly supervises the work. And lastly, sets the work hours and rate of pay. When an employer purposefully misclassifies an employee as an independent contractor, it is fraud. Some employers use this tactic to avoid compliance with unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, Social Security, tax withholding, and minimum wage. To report fraud to New York State Department of Labor online, you can visit the website dol.ny.gov/report-fraud or call the 24-hour fraud hotline at 866-435-1499. Thank you for listening to our brief session on the New York State employment rights. Please take our post-test survey to see what you have learned about your employment rights. For more information about your rights, please visit the New York State Department of Labor's Fair Grant website.